Hi Tarot friends, it's Jade here with Tarot Your Truth, and we're back with another video in my Walking Through the Tarot series. Today we are talking about the Four of Swords. So as per previous videos, so first of all, welcome back if you have seen my videos before, and if you have not, if this is the first time you're visiting me, then welcome, welcome, welcome. I am in this series going to compare and contrast both the artwork as well as some of the descriptions, not all of them, for the Rider-Waite-Smith. This is the Radiant Wise Spirit deck card against other RWS-ish decks, as well as the Ancient Italian, Marseille style, and the Thoth decks. I'll be reading some of the descriptions for those from the little white books that come with them, or the guidebooks, or other published sources such as the Classic Tarot by Stuart Kaplan, and the books like the oh my gosh, my brain is frozen. The I don't actually even have it with me. Kitchen Table Tarot. Sorry about that. Brain fart there. And a few others. Anyways, without further ado, I'm trying to make these ones quick, going through the pips, which so far I haven't succeeded in, but maybe number 4 will be the one. So let's look at the description for the Four of Swords. So a typical RWS description for this card is: put your thoughts at ease. This is a knight who is truly at rest. He is surrounded by swords, but doesn't need them right now. Sometimes you just have to tell your brain to shut up and be still. Sometimes, if you're not sure where to go or what to do, the best thing to do is to take a nap and figure it out later. We've just been through the heart pain of the Three of Swords, and rest is sorely needed. Take a deep breath and relax. On the shadow side of things, totally scattered, overworking, not listening to your body at all, sick in mind, body, and soul. You're so wound up you can't stop thinking, or everything just stops. Both are bad. Something needs to change. So one of the things that I learned in my studies is that this is not a tomb. This is actually, so I guess it comes from the medieval times, and typically what would happen, as I understand from what I read, is that knights before a big battle would actually sleep in something like this that looks like a tomb for the night prior to the big battle, and that was really to remind them of life, of the preciousness of life, and what they're fighting for. So it is interesting that I think some deck creators don't know anything about tarot, or at least the artists don't, and so they do call this a tomb, and I guess it could be, but I don't think this card is supposed to be, as we just read, this card is about rest after a heartbreak, and before the next challenge, which will be the 5, not about eternal rest or death. So anyway, that's just my take on it, but let's have a look at some of the RWS-based fours. So that is the Mystical Manga, the Spiral Tarot, Chicoli, whoa, there we go. Oh boy, okay. The Raven's Prophecy. Okay, I'm going to need to figure out a better way of doing this. The Morgan Greer, the Herb Crafters. So this is lavender, which is perfect for needing a rest, right? The Zombie Tarot, Tarot de la Nuit, and again I just keep getting that glare. Okay, pardon me. Pardon the interruption here. I wonder if does it look better there? Maybe it does. Let's do that instead. Pardon the interruption here, but I would like you to be able to see the cards. There we go. Okay. So that is the Tarot de l'Ennemi. In terms of that description, so she's lying there next to a clock. There looks like there's some spider webs around, and the description says, "It is the hour of rest. I've been so challenged lately. Now I need to rest, to come back to me. A time of healing for mind and body. Isolate and recharge. Once replenished, we will go back to our hectic lives. Many battles are still to be won, but for now, some solitude and contemplation are required. Like for all great conquerors, a moment of rest and of slowing down is necessary between two victories. Silence, rest, recovery, meditation, healing time, isolation, and seclusion." This is the vice versa tarot. Whoa, sorry. Okay, that's the front and the back. The influence of the Angels Tarot. Doesn't look like I'm gonna have much luck, guys. Okay. The Deviant Moon. The Wildwood. One of my favorite decks, the Everyday Witch, the Muse, the Forest of Enchantment, the Game of Thrones, Pagan Otherworlds, the Ethereal Visions, the Druidcraft. I find that one to be, an interesting. He's definitely contemplating. You get that contemplating. He looks like he's at rest because his legs are crossed and he just is leaning back. The Mythic Tarot. Okay, one of the things that, okay. Never mind. What I was going to say is that one of the things that really bugs me is when there's a card, so, a pip card maybe, or one of the minors, that have a specific number of things, and there aren't those number of things. So at first glance, I thought this was 5 swords, but it isn't. There are actually only 4. But I do have a couple of decks where the incorrect number of items is in the card. I don't know. It just irks me. Okay, so that's the Aquarian, the Crow Tarot, Crystal Visions, the Rackham Tarot. Let's see what that one says. Just out of curiosity. Rest and respite, a temporary release from worries. Find a peaceful spot where you can take sanctuary for a while. So again, we get basically the same message. This one was an interesting card. This is by the Emerging Toronto Artists, and this one was really weird. Like when I first got it, it took me a while to see it and to get it. But you see the 4 swords, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. They're very beat up, so clearly there's been, they've been well used, so there's been some wars going on. But then you have these 2 beings, one of which looks like it's got some female parts, and one doesn't. And they have those masks, and it's just very reminiscent of, you know, the gas masks. So it's that rest, I guess. Swords can't help you right now in the fighting, and you really need to just sit back and relax and wait for those gases to go. And actually, I'm just going to read that description because I do have it here. The one that's on the screen right now is the Gilded Tarot, of course. So let's see, Four of Swords. Oops. So same thing, recharge, passivity, contemplation, slumber. And on the reverse side, burnout, drained, restlessness. So they are all basically the same. The one I do want to read is this one here, which is the Next World Tarot. And sometimes these do have different nuances. So I'm going to have a look here. Okay, so basically the same. After the storm, the earth recuperates, as does the Four of Swords. After debilitating circumstances, we are exhausted. You are eager to push beyond the superhuman capability of merely healing. We choose vices, crutches, and paths to survival that may destroy us. The Four of Swords eventually found his sanctuary, a cluttered workspace where his favorite tools frame his chaos. He asks you to find peace in your search for stability. How do you recharge the heart after it has long suffered? How do you separate your healing from the healing of the outside world while staying aware? The Four of Swords reminds us to recuperate in times of burnout, post-traumatic stress, flares of chronic pain, and the undercurrents of survival that challenge our power. Now is the time to find power in isolation. The Four of Swords asks you to learn growth, learn accountability, and learn self-care. And couldn't we all use some self-care? There's the Modern Witch. Love this one. The Hidden Realms. The Shadowscapes. Santa Muerte. Okay. The Mystic Mondays. The Joie de Vivre. Housewives. Mermaid. Dame Darcy. Wild Unknown. I love this card here from the Light Seers. Nesting, resting your heart, the Spirit, the Revelations Tarot. And that is it for the RWS based decks. So let me take those out of the way. Okay, so let's look at some ancient Italian and Marseille style. This is the Valentina Visconti, the Trionfi della Luna, Minchiata Etruria, 1 JJ Swiss, Tarot of the Master, the Visconti Sforza, Ancient Italian, Tarot Classic. Did I actually show, sorry, that is not the correct card. This is the Five of Swords. A little premature. That's the Four of Swords. Okay, and finally we have the Solabusca card. Okay, and then let's look at what the meanings, just in case they change. So let's see the Ancient Italian, what that says, because the Ancient Italian version seems to be slightly different. But in this case, it seems to be the same. So isolation, preoccupation for oneself, resorting to specialists, distressed, the beginning of a personal struggle. So again, I think it's that struggle for self-care. Okay. And sorry about that. All right, so we have the Thoth style. So we've got 3 cards here. This is the Millennium Thoth. That is based on the original Thoth. And then we have the Handel. So those are more pips, of course. And let's have a look at what a typical meaning for those ones are. And pardon, I hope I don't make anybody sick, but I just want to make sure this doesn't fall. Okay. So the 4 of Swords. Relief and rest from strife. Contemplate the tools you have. A mental change arrives. And on the shadow side, fast-moving thoughts, inability to slow down and rest. Take care of yourself. Okay, so that's a bit of it is a bit of a nuance, I guess, but pretty much the same thing. In terms of the Marseilles, what does that say? Pretty much the same thing again. Respite, rest after illness, repose, replenishment, solitude, exile, retreat, temporary seclusion, abandonment. And on the reverse side, activity, circumspection, precaution, economy, guarded advancement, desire to recover what is lost. So that is interesting. The upright meaning for the Marseille style. So that meaning, by the way, came out of the Tarot Classic book by Stuart Kaplan. But it was really the reverse side of things where things got a bit different. Right, and if you're looking at it this way, really the only difference in the artwork is that that central flower that's being on the upside is being protected, encased, is now hanging upside down, which really does bring to mind that, to me anyway, that you can't rest that brain. if this was your head. You can't rest it. It keeps going, like all the blood is rushing to it. All the thoughts are rushing to your brain. You can't slow down. But, and I guess that can be why they're talking about the illness. Sorry, not the illness. Just the activity and taking precautions, that guarded advancement, desire to recover what is lost. That is definitely different than what I read for the others. Anyway, I am curious to hear your thoughts on these. What are my favorite cards? So in terms of my favorite RWS style decks, I have a couple, I think. And let's just pull those open. Just give me one sec here, or pull those out. Okay, so I'd have to say this one, the Everyday Witch. It's probably my favorite image. But then in a close second is that one. Yeah, I think those are my 2 favorite for this round. Which one is your favorite card? I'd love to know. Leave me a comment down below. And I'll meet you next time with the 5 of Swords. I hope you enjoyed these. I'm really enjoying them. They're really helping me to cement my knowledge. I try not to read, I try not to memorize meanings. I would prefer to, and I have much more success with just having that background and having this all sort of in the back of my head, and then letting my intuition sort of pull which one is the right one, or the one that feels the best from my intuition once I'm actually doing the specific reading. So I'd love to know if you find this useful. I would really appreciate comments, and if you have any suggestions for improvement, then please also do leave those. Just as I said, please be kind, and we'll catch you next time. Bye bye.